Welcome to the Garden Show. I'm Peggy Ballister Howells, and this is Kusa Dogwood. And he seems quite content to be snuggling. Please note that his tail is wagging. His tail is always wagging, pretty much all the time. And I would like to point out that behind me are the Mexican petunias that I propagated from cuttings. There's a total of 6. There's 2 more on the lower shelf. And I believe I have a picture among my slides later that shows that one of them is actually blooming in its pot. So that's kind of cool. And I will have a spot that I intend to plant these out front. Same spot as I had them last year. Last year they didn't do very well, but we started out with much smaller plants. So I'm hoping that this will all work out. And of course, today is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and to all the people that have mothers and all the people that want to be a mother. So happy Mother's Day. It's my son came on Tuesday. My daughter came too, but my son came and brought some marinated London broils and cooked dinner for us on the grill. And my daughter made us little cheese tarts. And she's coming later today. And we're going to get some takeout Greek food later, which is pretty exciting. So that's all good. So I hope you have a wonderful day. But we're going, let me give the phone number. You can see that big purple thing down on the bottom there, 888-399-7344. And give us a call. Remember to like and subscribe. This is our 40th show. And we are up to 239 subscribers. That's 239. Would be very nice to be 40, 240. It just would be symbolic and something to jump up and down about, and a great Mother's Day present for me. So we'll see if we can't get that one additional subscriber before the end of the day. So let's go to the slides this week at Tiny Farm, please. Oh, aha. This is Juniper. You don't see her very often because she doesn't fit on my lap or on the table. I've tried to get her to put her front paws on my lap so you could see her face in the camera, but she gets scared. So, but this is what she did all last week during the show. She looks so stressed, doesn't she? This is an azalea that's in bloom in Ocean Grove, and it came with the house. It's ginormous, and people stop to take pictures of it all the time. It's way over my head. It's just I think it's the biggest azalea I've ever seen, really. And I do have a little bit of a problem with it right in the center. You can see the flowers are a little bit recessed. There's a spot there where some of the branches keep dying that I have to prune out every year, but it manages to fill in, and it still has flowers this year, but in that spot. But it's stunning. And I can't tell you the variety name because it came with the house, but it is beautiful. And there is the Mexican petunia that is in bloom. How exciting is that? So we'll have flowers as soon as I put it out. And also they have lost some of their lower leaves. They do have some side shoots coming out of the bottom. You can actually see that in the picture of me with Kusa Dogwood there. You can see that they're sending up side shoots from the base. So they will fill in, but I really like the idea that they're going to start out taller. I think they will be much more visible starting out about 15, 16 inches tall instead of the 6 inches that we started out last year. This is cannas. You know, people ask me about cannas all the time, and you know, can you leave them in the ground? Do they overwinter? Do you have to dig them up? How do you store them? All of those questions. And to be honest, I gave up digging up cannas years ago. It's just too much work. I mean, it's just a tremendous job. And in truth, they triple in the number of tubers that from what you plant in the spring to what you dig out in the fall. And you really don't need all that many. And it got to the point where people I were giving them away to started running in the other direction because, you know, I had given out big, you know, big potato bag size paper bags, the big 50-pound paper bags of potatoes filled with cannas, and they saw me coming and they would run because I'd already given them some in the past. So I learned to leave them in the ground, and here's what I want you to do. If you choose to plant them, you need to plant them in a place where they will get a lot of sun and up against the building. Preferably, long side faces east, but it's up against the greenhouse, and the short side does face south. So it gets sun a good part of the day. But the other thing is about being up against the greenhouse wall there is the greenhouse definitely leaks heat. It's not, sealed up tight. And so the cannas tend to come up close to the building first. You can see even in this picture that the ones closest to the window there are taller than the ones further out because of the heat. So my suggestion is, if you want to plant cannas, because they're very expensive, is the first year that you plant them in a place that you hope is suitable for them to overwinter. The end of the season, you dig out half of them, just half. And that way you can store them. If you dig out half, that's probably more than you originally planted to begin with. And so you can store them. And if yours don't come back up, then you have enough to replant without having to go out and rebuy them. On the other hand, if they do come up, well, then you can bring them to the plant exchange and give them away. This is my tricolor beech, and I was worried. It lost its leaves a little bit earlier last year. It struggled. We planted it at the beginning of the dry spell, which was, at the beginning of the summer, the ground was very dry. So I would say end of June through July, it was very dry. After that, we had plenty of rain, but it was a big plant with a big root ball. And I was really worried that some of the leaves dried up, and I was concerned, but it's come back with gusto. And that is the foliage, which is why I was willing to spend an obscene amount of money for this tree. And it's pink. It's a pink tree. And it's one of the many varieties of beech tree that's out there. We have one other planted at Tiny Farm. The other one is the weeping purple European beech. But this one's pink. There's just not a lot of pink trees. I'm sorry. There's just not. And I had to have one. This is kind of cool. Now, this picture on the left is my cherry bush. Cherry that you eat, cherries. There are other things with the word cherry in them that are not particularly edible, like the cherry laurel. But this is it's called Romeo. It's a very cold, hardy variety. It's self-fruitful. I showed you a picture of it in bloom a couple weeks ago. But the picture on the right is what it looks like now with the flowers dried up. And you can see all the little stems. While you eat cherries, every cherry has a stem, Well, you can see the stems. And look, can you see that? That looks like it's going to be a cherry when it grows up. And if you look closely, you can see there's more coming. That was like the best one I could get a picture of. But it looks like, this is only I planted it last spring. So this is only its second season. And I didn't plant it early in the spring. I planted it later in the spring. And so here it is. I don't even think it's been in the ground a whole year yet. And here it is, making cherries. Now, it maxes out at about 6 feet high by 6 feet wide. So picking cherries should be very easy. It's supposed to be abundant. Now, based on the number of little tiny nubby things that we see here, it really could produce a significant amount of cherries. So I'm excited. So again, if you come across it, its variety is Romeo, self-fruitful, stays small. Actually, another thing is if you have a problem with birds coming to steal your cherries, it's small enough that you could cover it, which if you're talking about a more traditional cherry tree, that's a bigger problem. So there's a lot of advantages here. It's still in the experimental stage, but those things look like baby cherries. So that's a good thing. Oh, I took this picture. I got very excited when I saw this. This is a purple flowering tree. It's called Royal Paulownia, botanical name Paulownia tomentosa, and it gets these purple spikes of flowers that point up when it doesn't have a lot of leaves. And this is a close-up picture of the flowers themselves. And on the right, you can see all those nut-like looking things are the seed pods. And it's, in some places I've seen that it's invasive. I don't really see that many of them around, so I'm not sure. The one place where I have seen many, and I wouldn't change it for the world, is those of you who drive along Route 18 on the way into New Brunswick. You drive through that one patch where you drive through what looks like a cut mountain. And that mountain side is full of these things. And at this time of year, it's just like a panoramic view of purple. It's really, really beautiful. And they may be invasive, but they are stunning. And they're originally native to China, but in Japan, they're considered sacred because the wood of the Royal Paulownia, also called Empress tree, is used for coffins. So they're considered sacred. This is a pink Weigelia, and this was kind of interesting because this was one of the things that managed to survive here at Tiny Farm. And it was here, and it's a beautiful shade of pink. And we did try to save a number of things from the one part of the yard. All the trees in the back we did cut down from the house back to behind the barn. But this was off to the side by the fence, and we had to move it because I didn't like where it was. But it's a beautiful pink Weigelia, and not quite in full bloom, but really, I just love the shade of pink. I think it's really beautiful. And this is the red Weigelia that is a little bit further behind. It actually has more flowers, but they're not open yet. With all this rain, we'll see what happens in the next day or so. They should be in full bloom by next week. But and these are planted along the driveway. And that is my tricolor hedge where the forsythia come out early. And then the spireas in full bloom right now, followed and overlapping with the red Weigelia. But relatively easy to grow, relatively easy to propagate. And they come in a variety of colors. This is a little Siberian iris. Not sure where this one came from either. Did we bring this from Blooming Acres? Did this one come from Blooming Acres? I think it did too. I think we salvaged it. There's not a lot. There's 2 or 3 things that came from Blooming Acres, but this little Siberian iris is about to bloom. It's nice and thick. This is the one that I used, the little new hedge pruner. I used the grass attachment to cut off all the old foliage, and it worked great. And it's regenerated plenty of new foliage and will soon be covered in bloom. So, of course, as soon as these open, I will share it with you. This is one of the more traditional irises, German bearded iris, that's blooming. The flowers do not look as great as they could because this has been after it had been raining for 2 days, and wanted to get, a nice open picture. That's the best we could do. And another allium is coming into its own. I planted so many alliums. They are blooming early. They're supposed to not bloom until June, but they are blooming. Look at this weird one. Not sure about the little pointy thing on top. I'm not sure how that's going to open. Again, a new one that we just planted this past fall. So we'll see what that does, but it's kind of weird. And it's also very tall. It's one of the tallest ones out there. Oh, this is the giant hibiscus, the perennial hibiscus. And you can see the many, many stems that we cut down. One of the things that is always nerve-wracking about this plant is it's probably the last perennial to emerge in the spring. And in the early years, I was always panicking that it wasn't going to come back. It's just emerging now. It's the middle of May. It's just emerging now. It will get 4, 5 feet tall. It will be covered in flowers, but it doesn't show its face until later in the season. So if you've been worried about yours, go out and check, because it may be, it may be showing itself in your yard now. Now we're a little bit closer to the shore, so if you're still not seeing it, give yourself another week or 2 before you start to panic. But chances are it'll be fine. I've never had it actually not come back. My orange tree. This is a plant that overwinters in the greenhouse, and it did very well. The oranges are not particularly edible. They're kind of very bitter, but they're pretty. The lemon tree, of course, is much more successful, but it has oranges on it and it's about to bloom. And of course, the scent of orange blossoms is lovely. So hard to argue with that. But that's been moved outside and is, had already been pruned and fertilized, and it's filling in and making flowers and just doing just fine. Oh, I took this at a nursery that I went to visit, and I just had to share it with you. This is a red bud. It's called flamethrower. And this is not the fall foliage. This is the spring foliage. I'm curious as to see if it's going to turn more green as it progresses or what it's going to do. But I've never seen anything quite like it. And it's really lovely. So I want to share that with you. Red buds are a great native tree. I don't know about all the varieties or where, who has been developing all the varieties or if some of them come from elsewhere, but the regular variety, Cirsus canadensis, the species, is native and is an understory tree, so it can take some shade. Usually does very well mixed in with dogwoods. However, I don't like how the pink dogwoods look with the pink red buds. I think it's one of the few color combinations that I think actually clash. This is Scotch broom. There are many different kinds of Scotch broom. It's a weird plant. Very important to keep them well watered, especially, believe it or not, in the fall. You don't want them going into the winter dry, but Scotch brooms are different from many other shrubs. They're fun. They come in a wide variety of colors and are blooming now. And if you're looking for some ground cover or plants for a rock garden, you should investigate the world of hardy succulents. There are many, many different kinds, and they're particularly good for rock gardens because they don't spread very quickly, but you can work them in around other plants, and they're really lovely. And rhododendrons are also blooming now. These may be a bit early, but I did see a pickup truck. I wish I had my camera ready to take the picture. It was so cute. This big old green beat up pickup truck with the back full of these plants in bloom. And it was really quite the picture. I'm sorry I missed that one. And the dappled willow, which we have a dappled willow on a standard, meaning that it's grafted onto a very straight trunk and it's a big giant ball on top. But these are lovely. They get large. They're easy to grow, easy to propagate. They're just, if you're looking for something a little different, they prefer wet ground, which is good. So if you have like sort of a soggy spot that sometimes, is wetter than you would like, this would be a good choice because the whole world of willows is a lot more tolerant of wet ground than other things. Okay, is that it? That was the last one? Okay. I did put Danny's red bud pictures ready to go. So if Danny's listening, we need for her to call in so we can look at her pictures. And Rob F is wishing us a happy Mother's Day. So thank you, Rob F. I hope you have a great day and have some fun plans for the day. So what should we do? What should we do next? Let's do, the amaryllises. We need to, getting a bit behind. I have many amaryllises. Some of them are still blooming. Some of them are coming into bloom. Some of them are finishing up. So let's deal with them now. And yes, you can force them into bloom sooner. Some people try to get them to bloom for the holidays as a nice red alternative to the poinsettia. But mine, I just leave in the greenhouse and they bloom when the spirit moves them. Now this beauty is one, I didn't even know I had this one. This is, I think I must have picked this one up at the plant exchange because I know I never bought it. And it may have just been a little amaryllis in a pot, the bulb in a pot. And I probably didn't even try to take it. It was probably just left at the end. And because I take all the plants that are left and I sort through them, and I probably just stuck this one in because I've never had it bloom before. But it is very, very lovely. And this is me dividing some amaryllises. So I showed you some of these a while ago to pull them apart, cut the foliage off, and divide them. And this is one of the ones that I divided. So it's doing, it was the larger of the two, and it produced 3 blooms. And of course, you can see the foliage coming out at the base, and that's this is an important picture for that reason as well. First, you get the flowers, then you get the foliage, and you can see the foliage is emerging. And then when it finishes blooming, you would cut it off at the base. Now, the one on the right is the smaller plant that from the bulb that I separated. It's too young to bloom. It might bloom next year, but it's not ready to bloom, but it's growing and it's doing well. And right there, that's the new foliage. And you would cut that flowering stalk off very close at the base when it finishes. You don't want to leave the flowering stalk. Of course, you want to be very, very careful not to cut the emerging leaves, but it is important to remove that stalk down near the base. And sometimes you get the leaves a little bit longer than others. It's, it's not an exact science, but if the leaves are as long as you see in this picture and you haven't seen any formation of buds developing, then there is a good possibility you won't get a bloom. Now, if you want it, if getting the bloom is the target, which of course, why else would you be growing these? It's very important that the foliage, after it's done blooming, gets plenty of sun. It needs to produce a minimum of 5 healthy upright leaves. If you get a bunch of leaves and they're flopping in the breeze and they're falling over all the time and you need to tie them up, that doesn't count. They haven't gotten enough sun and they're stretching, which means if they don't have enough energy to hold themselves up, they're not going to have enough energy to restore the bulb to make a flower for the following year. So when it's done with the blooms, you cut it back and you move it into a sunny location. Now, don't move it from the dark into blazing sun outside. Give it an opportunity to acclimate to that environment. You don't want the leaves to cook, but it's very important. If you want them to bloom every year, they need to get plenty of sun. And that's what the leaves look like, as they're emerging. Nice, healthy leaves. This is a picture that one of the viewers sent in, and you could see great plant. I mean, both of those pots have got 2 flowering stalks. The one on the left is in full bloom with a one coming kind of paralleling it right along the edge there of a second blooming stalk. And the one on the right, the stalk on the right of that pot is finishing up. And that's very close to needing it to be removed. And this is my favorite amaryllis picture. This was at Blooming Acres, and I had a whole bunch blooming at the same time in a window that faced south. Yeah. Sometimes I see pictures like this and it makes me sad because I miss Blooming Acres. But we have tiny farms, so we're happy. I didn't have a greenhouse at Blooming Acres, and I do now. So, let's stay on the positive. Okay, I think that's the end of that. So this is a red bud, and this is Danny's red bud, and she sent me this picture. So Danny girl, are you with me? Danny, are you with me?
Yes.
There you are.
Now I am. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you too. You have any big plans for today?
No, I celebrated with my son last week, and Dave is with his mom, so we'll try to come up with something later on this afternoon. Yeah.
My husband promised me a present. He said it's not here. He said maybe Tuesday. So I don't know.
Well, definitely it's going to be something good.
I'm excited, and I'm enjoying the anticipation. But my son made dinner for me on Tuesday, and my daughter came and she brought dessert, and she's coming later on today. So it's a great Mother's Day. So all good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your red bud doesn't look so good.
Nope.
Can you see the pictures? I know that you're on the phone. Can you see the pictures?
Yes, I figured it out.
Okay.
Method. Yes.
Okay, great. So we're looking. This was the one that split. This is a Ruby Falls red bud. which was stunning when you purchased it. And I'm so sorry that this happened to you. We purchased them the same day at one of the big box stores at the end of the season. They were having a sale, and I called Danny and I said, I can't believe they're so cheap. They're fabulous. She ran down. I grabbed one. She grabbed one. Mine's doing fine, but hers, when did it split initially?
Well, actually, it's probably my fault. There were two of them when I went to buy them. And I think I liked the shape of this one better. I did notice there was a slight split in the middle. It was slightly damaged. Even when I purchased it, now I think back of it. But because I like the shape so much more than the other one, so I took this one and took a chance. I guess that was not a good choice.
Well, sometimes chances work out and sometimes they don't. But look at the shape of this thing. I don't blame you. The shape is outrageous. So, I can see why you would have been drawn to this one. I can't say I wouldn't have made the same choice, but you tried taping it together, and that may have saved it from splitting more, because trees do have the ability to grow back together sometimes. So even if you didn't save the top, you may have prevented it from splitting more. So was probably good. So I'm going to take the next picture. This is a little bit closer. Now here's the thing. It looks like where those two pieces of tape are, that everything above that is definitely dead. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, just the branch just below the second tape, the skinny one, or the second one from this picture on the right-hand side, that one is dead as well.
Okay, so here's my question. The red arrows are what I thought were options for where you could cut it. The yellow arrow, I couldn't tell from this picture if that branch was dead or alive. Does it have foliage further down?
No, the yellow one, that branch is alive.
Okay, so then so if the one with the yellow arrow is alive, you want to leave that branch. So if it were me, I would cut it above that branch where that red arrow on the right is, and just get yourself a really sharp, strong lopper, and that would probably do it. Especially a ratcheting lopper would probably do it, and in one cut. You could do it with a pruning saw. I would be a little hesitant to use a reciprocating saw because it's so small. You might, if it slips, you might end up doing more damage than good. I think you could probably get it with a good, a really good ratcheting lopper. What do you think?
I think so. I have one of the electric one, the power tool one.
Oh.
So that might be.
Well, if that does it, that might want to use a really sharp tool, make one clean cut, and just remove the top. You might want to save it, the top. You might want to save it. It would be a really cool thing to stick in the ground and grow a vine up just for fun. Like maybe a moonflower vine would be fun to grow up one of those, but just as an idea. Or you could attach it to just a plain stake, tape it or zip tie it to a stake and then grow the moonflower vine or any of the other annual vines that you might be interested in growing. It's just a shame to throw away anything that's so sculptural looking. I saved all the branches from my Harry Lauder's walking stick. I haven't come up with anything to use them for yet, so I'm going to leave them for the plant exchange. So if anybody's interested in taking a branch or two for use in the garden or as a sculpture, or I know I have a friend who, when I pruned the Harry last year, she took several of the branches for her bird. She had a bird in a cage, and like a big bird. And so
that's interesting.
Took some of the branches to put in the bird cage. So I figure I don't want to waste them. So I figure somebody might have a really good use for them, either creatively, artistically, structurally, or for the birds. Who knows? But I think that's where you need to cut it. And after you cut it, Danny, take a close look. And it's hard to tell while you've still got the tape on it, but see if it's kind of healed a little bit. I know above all died, but see, because I'd be a little hesitant to remove that other piece of tape below there if it hasn't completely grown back together again. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. So my question to you, more specifically to where to cut them. Should I cut it closer to the branch, just below the area, below your right red arrow? Or should I cut it closer to the dead branch above the red arrow?
Okay. Here's what I'm going to explain to you, if I can, because you've got to be able to envision it in your head. The red arrow is pointing right at what's called the collar wood. And that is the wood wherever there's a branch branching off. It's sort of like your elbow. You have an elbow, right? So look at the elbow and look at the skin on the inside of the elbow right there. It's kind of bunched up when your arm is bent. And then when you straighten your arm, it kind of stretches out.
Correct.
That's what that tissue is. That's called the collar in there. It's the same as the skin on the inside of your elbow. So you don't want to cut any of that because that is a more chemically active part of the plant. So you want to cut right above that. So it would still be closer to the yellow branch, but it wouldn't be right on top of the yellow branch. It would be slightly above so that you don't cut any of that collar wood that red arrow is pointing at.
Understand.
We got it? Did I explain that okay? I mean, it's clear in my head, but it doesn't always come out clear out of my mouth. So did I explain that okay?
Yes. Yes. Now I understand. That's why I had asked you specifically where should I cut it, and I don't want to make a mistake, to do more damage to a poor tree that is trying to, survive.
That collar wood is important stuff. So you want to try to avoid cutting that. And I think you'll be good. Or at least,
now
do the best you can. I don't know if it's going to grow in a way that's going to create a new leader. That's kind of interesting. Only time will tell. I think based on what I've seen of this plant from the other pictures, it looks like it's going to be more shrub-like and spreading, but you never know. It might develop a new leader. It might. So only time will tell. It'll be totally outrageous and beautiful no matter what, because it's a totally outrageous and beautiful plant, but it might not be what you had hoped it would be when you made the purchase.
I know. Well, whatever happens, and I would just still enjoy it.
Yes. Well, it's a cool plant. And I'm sure you were watching earlier, you saw that other one, that flamethrower one. Oh my God, how outrageous was that? So, there are many different kinds of red buds out there. And while I love my favorite nurseries that I know are all quality stuff and the people that work there are knowledgeable, and, I love to go to them and try to spend most of my money at those kind of places, I can't deny I hit the big box stores. Whenever I have to go to a big box store for any reason, I check out the nursery because you never know what weird, cool thing is going to be there. And at the end of the season, they have some pretty good sales. My sister, she's 10 years older than me, and we're very close. And she called me and was asking me about which big box store should she go to, which has the better quality and the better prices. And I was like, it's got nothing to do with which store. It has to do with how soon do you get there after the plants arrive, because they get cool plants and in good condition and often at a good price. but there's doesn't seem to be a lot of people there that know how to take care of them. If you ask people that work there, they say, oh, that was brought in by the vendor and we don't take care of that. I've heard that way too many times. So if you go and you happen to catch something when it's fresh and in good shape, you can find really cool, weird things. Like we found these Ruby Falls redbuds. They were spectacular. So it pays to peek is what I'm saying. So, go peek.
Right.
If you don't see anything, you leave. But if you see something cool, you might get a bargain. So, and I'll keep my eye out for another one for you, Danny, just in case.
Okay. Thank you. I just also like to share, I often visit these big box stores just like you to go peek at their sales rack. And I had collected a bunch of things in there when they look all dried up and droopy, when the plants weren't properly cared for, but I can bring them home at a half price or 30% off and bring them back up to life. And,
sometimes you can, and if you know your plant material, you know which ones you can do that with and which ones you can't. So that makes a big difference.
Right.
That makes a big difference.
Right.
All right, Danny girl. Happy Mother's Day. I hope something wonderful happens for you later today. I'm glad you got to spend the day with your son the other day, just like I did the other day with my son. And we will talk soon, okay? And don't forget, Plant Exchange, May 25th.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you then.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right. Anybody else going to call? We should give the number. It's 888-399-7344. And what time is it? How much time do we have?
20 up.
All right. So we have about 20 minutes. So we could do, okay, I took some pictures at Ocean Grove last week. So let's show the Ocean Grove pictures because there are some fun things that are happening over there that I would like to share. This actually really worked out. I can't believe how well this worked out. This is a fig tree. And I planted this fig tree in a spot where it needed to grow tall, to be taller than everything around it. But it's also protected by the things that are planted in front of it. So you can actually be on the porch and pick the figs now. And it started producing figs 2 years ago. There was only like one or two. Last year, there was half a dozen. And I was so excited. And then I went to Ocean Grove to take care of the place and to, water the plants and to check on my figs. They were all gone. No figs for me. No figs for me. But look at those figs. Those are overwintering figs. So that means these are going to be ripe earlier, like maybe in August, since they're overwintering figs. The second crop is the ones that you usually get, and they do not ripen until late September, early October, and you're always fighting a race against, Jack Frost. And sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. Now, down at the beach, it's always a little bit warmer. The fall is always a little bit warmer, so we have a better chance. But in this case, with the mild winter that we had and the fact that they're in this protected spot and they have grown above where all the other bushes are, it was a plan that actually worked out exactly the way I had hoped it would. You can just stand on the porch and pluck these off if nobody gets to them first. This is a little creeping phlox that is planted at the base of a tree. There's not a lot of it, but it's just a happy thing, and it's planted in the little strip between the street and the sidewalk, and there's a huge tree. It's at the base of the tree. Very hard to get anything to grow there. But this is about 10 years old, and it just manages, not all the plants manage to survive that I put in, but this one little patch very reliably comes back every year. And this is my Solomon seal, a variegated Solomon seal, and it grows in the alleyway, it's very pretty. It's near the outside shower. And I have some of this that I put in the woods here at Tiny Farm, but this is well established and just really lush. And obviously, the growing conditions are good and it's blooming. It's got all those pretty little flowers. So that was a perfect choice for that environment. when we're talking about that kind of deep shade, you know, not everything will work, but it's thriving. It makes me happy. And this is Bloomerang. I have one of these at Tiny Farm as well, but I have two, and they are the perfect choice for the spot because they don't get too big. They stay, you know, small. They do have beautiful scent and a nice production of spring flowers, and they will continue to put out the occasional flower throughout the summer. And they stay small. These are, how old are these? These have got to be close to 10 years old now, and they're still only about 3 feet tall. So easy peasy and attractive. I don't have any problems with them. And they are come back reliably every year. Okay, is that the last one? Because I'm having trouble with what was the last one. Okay, so I should give the phone number again. Phone number here is, what is the phone number here? 888-399-7344. And we have 3 open lines. I guess that's what we have left. We've got about 15 minutes left to the show. So if you have anything any questions that you would like, and again, I should remind everybody that the plant exchange is May 25th. It's here at Tiny Farm. Those of you who don't know where that is, a lot of you do, but those of you will have to reach out to me because I don't want to broadcast my address except for people who reach out that I know are interested. So it starts at noon, runs till about 4. The way it works is that you bring plants to exchange. Plants that you may have, like if you dug up your cannabulbs and you don't need them, that would be a good thing to bring to trade. If you had bought several flats of annuals and you have some left, that would be a good thing to bring. House plants that you may have propagated, perennials that you may have divided, small shrubs that you pulled out that you don't want, ground cover that you divided. There's, you know, all kinds of things that you can bring. Seedlings, vegetable plants, all that stuff. Pots. You can get into hard goods like clay pots or decorative pots. The occasional gardening gnome that, you know, needs to be rehomed. Tools, there's so many things. Vases. You can bring cut flowers if you want, but you just put them out on the tables. I try to set up the tables in a way that it makes sense. So houseplants over here, veggies over there, that kind of thing. But if you're bringing tons and tons of stuff, which some people do, then I ask that you bring a table because we run out of table space real fast. There's no charge, but we do also ask that everybody brings a food item to share. And that would be finger food. We definitely prefer finger food so that we don't have to deal with plates and silverware and that kind of thing. Beverages are good. So like bottles or cans of beverage. I will have a couple cases of water. So we don't want anybody to get dehydrated. And I'm very excited. Tommy, we were struggling. Tommy's band partner was unavailable and his backup band partner was unavailable. So he was thinking of just playing music by himself, but then he got inspired, and he used to be in this other band that had a fabulous singer, somebody that I've met a number of times, and her partner is also a singer. I don't know if he's going to sing or not, but she has agreed to come and sing with Tommy. So it's going to be great. I'm so excited. Her name is Rose. How appropriate is that for a plant exchange? So Rose will be joining us, and so we will have really good live music again. So people that want to help know how to reach me. You can come the day before. You can come the day after. Come early in the day. It's a huge job to get this all set up. I do not have Jordan helping me this year. Those of you who know Jordan, she has done the show with me a few times. She helped me 2 days a week. She got a new job. She now bakes bread. She's a bread baker and a breadwinner. She's all of that. And she's doing great and she loves it and she's happy, but she's no longer available to help. I don't even think she's going to be able to come to the plant exchange this year, which breaks my heart a little bit. But okay, so who do we have on the phone? Bob? Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well, Peggy. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to Nancy. But happy
Yes.
Mother's Day to you too, since
Yes.
you're married to the mother of your children. You get to enjoy it too.
I am married to the mother of my children, and happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
One of the reasons for my call is about the plant exchange. I've been sending you pictures of my plants, but I don't know if I'm sending them to the right email address. Could you possibly post the email address on your show?
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything from you, and I've checked all my emails, so I'm not sure that it's coming through.
Nancy and I sent texts 2 weeks ago. Nancy sent you an article, and I sent you, I don't know if I sent you something or not via text. I know Nancy did. And then yesterday, I know it's a little late for the show, I sent something to a email address, but I'm not sure if it's the right one or not.
Well, I will
It's
double
from
check.
which
And we will, isn't the email address garden, let's see, what would it be? Is it
We'll come back on it.
We'll come back. Tommy will get the exact email address and we will post it. We'll try to post it before the end of the show. In the meantime, you can text me. If you have stuff,
okay,
text it to me, because then I always get it. And I don't remember what the article was that she sent me, but I think I did see it. Do you remember what it was about?
Yeah, it was actually really cool. It was about a high school student who invented a lantern fly.
Oh, right. That's right. No, I do
Tree.
remember reading it. No, I do remember reading it. It was pretty cool. It was very cool. I didn't do anything with it, but maybe I will, because now you reminded me.
Yeah, I mean, you can maybe wait till the summer if they hit or when they hit.
Right. I think that's why I didn't do anything with it. It didn't seem, the timeliness of it was exact, but it was a great article, and she's a real brainiac, that one.
Yeah, she is. She's pretty amazing. Yeah, yes. Really. But I mean, even I was staking up my peonies yesterday, and I haven't seen any of the gummy substance on them. I didn't see any nymphs. I don't know if it's too early. I don't know if it's too cold. Who knows? But I haven't seen any signs of them at this time.
Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah, that is encouraging. Yeah. Other than that, we've been very busy here working out in the yard in the strawberry patch, which is getting humongous and taking on a life of its own and taking over the entire area that I was going to plant a lot of other things. But that's okay. Strawberries are good, so it's all a good thing.
Yes, strawberries are good. Did you see earlier that I might be getting cherries?
Yes, very cool.
I think that's very cool. We have a
very.
I love the size and the shape of the bush. If the cherries turn out to be as good, then it'll be a real find. That particular variety, because that's one of the problems with cherries. They grow on big trees. They're hard to pick. The birds get them. This has multiple advantages, but only if the cherries are good. So we'll see. But if we get cherries. Yeah. I guess by the time of the plant exchange, we should know if there's going to be a significant number of cherries on there, because that's a few weeks, and all those little incipient cherries will have matured a bit, so we'll have a better idea of what it's actually going to do. So that'll be fun.
Oh, that's good. We have a very old, decades-old cherry tree, but it's a sour cherry tree. They're really, really sour.
Oh.
And they're tiny, they're sour, and the birds feast on them. So good. Help yourself.
Yeah.
My grandson, when he was here, he'd love them too. He'd pick them off the ground, and he was like, "How can we eat those things? They're terrible."
My daughter eats lemons. My daughter likes to eat lemons. I cringe when I see her doing it, but she likes to eat lemons. So I think it's individual taste for sure.
Yeah. And I know the generation my grandson is in, 22-year-old, they love the Sour Patch gummies.
Oh, right.
And all the real sour candies, not the sweet chocolate and stuff. They go for the sour things. So.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about them either. Give me a good old sweet tart any day.
other than that, everything's pretty much the same here. Getting ready to put the plants in the garden. I have a lot of plants to bring to the plant exchange. I'm excited about that. So looking forward to that.
How's your curly willow doing?
Oh, fantastic. It's growing nicely. There are branches starting to grow like near the ground level, maybe a few inches up. Should I leave those growing or should I cut them off?
It's a matter of, how do you want it to look eventually?
Okay.
So mine looks terrific too.
Yeah, it's growing really, really nice though. It's growing taller. It's so full and lush now. Yeah, and it's exactly where I want it to grow to block my neighbor's spotlight at night. So it just needs to get a few feet taller, and I think it will succeed. So
it might do that or make significant progress doing that in this growing season. So you're doing well.
I got some Eastern red buds at your plant exchange 2 years ago, and I put it in the ground. It'll be 2 Septembers ago. This thing was like 6 inches tall. It's now 6 foot tall.
Wow.
I think Chris from Scotch Plains had brought some plants, and I put 2 of them in, and I mean, they're taking off really, really nice. Now, the same thing with the Eastern redbud, the branches that are starting to come in near the base of the plant, a few inches off the dirt, should I leave them on, or is it better to trim those off?
Well, again, do you want it more bush-like or more tree-like?
And they grow about 20 foot tall.
About, they tend to be about the same size as your dogwoods. They're understory trees. Okay. They can take a little shade. They're, medium-sized trees. They're not big, full shade trees. So, yeah, that's about right. Depending on the location, I would like them to have a big arching crown myself. I think that's the way they look the prettiest. So I would probably remove them. If it was a weeping kind that, all the branches are going to weep down, then I might leave them. But if it's just a regular kind, and then I might take them off and encourage it to grow taller that way. The more side branches it has and the more energy it puts into the side branches growing, the less it's going to grow up.
Okay.
So it's up to you as to what you really want to do. In the woods, remember, they grow all by themselves. So they do whatever they want. Right. And they look beautiful. Yeah,
it's a lovely tree, though, and I'm really happy with how healthy it is and how rapidly it's growing. It's really growing fast. We have 2 of them, and they're both growing really fast.
I put one in the front here at Tiny Farm from the Plant Exchange, and it's not growing quickly. It's only about 3 feet tall, and the leaves tend to be very small. But it looks healthy and it has a nice shape. So I'm good. It doesn't have to be huge in that spot. So I'm happy with it. But I'm surprised to hear yours is doing, getting so big so fast. I planted another one in the back by the compost pile to kind of block the corner of where the 2 fences come together, and just to give, something else to look at other than the compost pile, so. And that one's growing a little faster. That one's, I only put that one in 2 years ago, and it's bigger than the one that I put in front, which was 4 years ago. I got the one in front from the first plant exchange. So we'll see. Everybody's growing. Yeah. Everything looks good. We've had a fair amount of rain, so I think things are, growing nicely. And I don't think we've had too much rain, which is, that's a whole nother world of problems. So I think it's been a pretty good spring so far. I'm a little bummed. I was hoping to get my tomato plants in the ground on Friday, and I didn't get to it. The weather was not cooperative. But today and tomorrow and Tuesday, I have to work at the Ocean Grove house. I have tenants leaving today and new tenants coming on Wednesday for the summer. And so I'll show you. I potted some things up, and I have to get over there and prune and bring over all the hanging baskets. So I probably won't get my tomatoes in until Wednesday. That's the plan.
I wanted to get mine in by now, but I haven't even gotten to till the garden yet. I missed the window when I should have had it done before all these rains started coming. And I don't really want to till the garden while it's really moist, because then it's just going to come up clumpy. It's not going to really break it up that much.
Now, I have one bed. I was planning on putting something else in there, but I've decided the bed is all ready and I want to just get my tomato plants in. It's a long bed, so I'm going to that's where I'm going to put all the tomatoes, and I think it'll work out just fine. So I'm ready to go.
The peas are growing good. I'm happy with that.
All right, Bob. It's
okay,
always
Peggy,
a pleasure.
thank you for taking
Please
my
give
call.
Nancy a Mother's Day hug. And is there anything else I can do for you now?
No, that's it. I guess the only thing, if you did get the pictures that I sent you about my plants, maybe send me a text that you did get them. That way I know that is the emails.
What plants are we talking about?
My tomato plants.
Okay. No, I don't think.
I sent you a picture on the progression of, I sent it to you when it was a month old. Now, it's beyond that, and these things are really growing. So it's just a picture of the green. I have a portable greenhouse I set up in the driveway, and I move everything out there. So
all right, well, I will definitely look into that. I did not see them. It's possible that they're hidden in my email somewhere, but I check every day, so I'm surprised.
Yeah,
but we'll find it, and if not, I will get you a better email address. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Peggy.
All right. Thanks, Bob. All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have we run out of time?
1 minute.
We have 1 minute. Well, let's do that just quickly. We'll do the yellow pots. So I had red pots at the Ocean Grove house last year, and when my tenant asked if when she moved in September or later on in that year, she asked if she could get rid of the mums because they died. I said, yeah, you can just toss them. I don't need them. And she tossed the red pots too. I was so bummed. So I found these yellow pots, which is pretty close to the color of the house. So I thought, and the steps have been painted red. So the yellow pots on the red steps, I think will look nice. And then the big hibiscuses are in blue pots, and the house is yellow, red, mostly yellow with red and blue trim. So I think the combination will work. And these are the pots that I found. And I picked up some beautiful flats of flowers in order to fill them all in. These little yellow marigolds are just very dependable and easy. And these are some other things, some of the things I had in the greenhouse, some things I picked up those begonias. I also bought red begonias and pink begonias. And we always put a paper towel on the bottom so the soil doesn't wash through. And I started with, in the middle, there's a red geranium. Those are geraniums I propagated from my own. You can see there's a flower cluster on top. I hope that they develop a little more. They're nice, robust little plants, but I really want the red in the center. And then we put the little marigolds, and then I added the white contrasting begonias. And then I took a bunch of cuttings from my purple set creasa, and they root so easily that I just took a bunch of cuttings, and they have a tendency to kind of hang over a little bit. So I wanted them to soften the edges of the plants. That is one of my favorite tools, and I use that to poke a hole. What do we call those things? Xylophone. Yeah. What are they? Mallets? Xylophone mallets. That's the chickens have the xylophone, and I use that to poke a hole, and then I just stuck them in there like that, and that's what it looked like. I thought it came out pretty cute. It will look better when that red geranium is blooming, and I'm hoping that all those little purple set creasas will fill in and root easily. They never seem to fail to root, so I think we're going to be okay. So that was the first one that I did, but and that's the top view. So you have a better view of the little geranium in there. But I think it's a nice combination. It'll look great on easy care stuff since I'm not there all the time. And then this is the three of them. So what I have is 2 giant hibiscus and these 3 pots. So I do pot, hibiscus, pot, and that fills up the steps. It looks pretty good. And I made them all the same with the marigolds and the geraniums, but I changed everything else. Put different things in so that they would be similar and would blend, but not exactly the same. We will be carrying them over this afternoon and putting them on the steps. So that's a project that at least is done. And I had fun doing it too. So everybody have a wonderful day. Again, happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. And I will be here next week, same time, same place. So until then, have a good one. Bye-bye.